the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to finish chapter 2. Same format as usual. We're going to have translations on screen directly from the book. Also, when it strikes me the most as I'm reading line by line throughout this Gita, I'm going to give you my interpretation, my insight in either that line in particular or on a collection of lines that have been passed. With that said, before we get into the book, I want to give a bit of a message before we continue. Many people are reading the Bhagavad Gita. It's very common to take a singular shloka from this book, interpret it, pages and pages of commentary, beautiful metaphor and intellectualization. However, I think we can point out the details of a painting without losing the frame. The frame being that this book is about God telling man to pick up his weapons. This is God telling man to do his job. In no way do I ever want to exchange the obvious and the immediately useful for some deep abstraction. That I hope by the end of this book that you yourself find your passion, your purpose, your dharma, pick it up and take action. That is the ultimate hope. That is the ultimate dream, that we go out and we do something with our lives. And Sri Krishna has all the logic and reasoning within here to follow a great methodology to make sure that you get the proper results. With that said, let's start. We'll start from where we left off. I believe that is chapter 2, Shloka 39. The ideal of self-knowledge has been presented to you. Hearken now to the practice thereof. Endow with it, O Partha. You will break through the bonds of karma. This is Sri Krishna speaking to Arjun. Let me not forget that. Line 40. In this there is no loss of attempt, nor is there any adverse effect. The practice of even a little of this dharma protects one from the greatest fear. Even a little bit of effort, a little offering to your altar, some flowers, some attention and some focus, clasping of the hands. One need not chase big rituals and understanding and constant reading of books. That comes on its own time. The simple things that you do every day with awareness and attention can, as Sri Krishna speaks of, can protect one from great fear. And that's powerful. Shloka 41. To the firm in mind, O joy of the Kurus, there is in this but one decision. Many branching and endless are the decisions of the infirm mind. Beautiful line. To someone who does not know who they are, it seems that there are so many different options in the world. And what does that do? Oh, there's so many different majors. There's so many different job offerings. There's so many different types of people and relationships. There's a sense of analysis paralysis within the problems of options. Now, while there's a balance of options, obviously you do want to be presented with things in life. Someone who does not know who they are have infinite options, and that numbs them. Someone who knows who they are doesn't have much decisions and choices that they feel like they need to make. The person that truly knows who they are, the firm in mind, as Sri Krishna says, is someone who does not see choice, who sees the path that they need to go down. Line 42. The unwise who delight in the flowery words disputing about the Vedas say that there is nothing other than this. Who are desire-ridden, who hold the attainment of heaven as the goal of birth and its activities, whose words are laden with specific rites, bringing in pleasure and worship. There is no fixity of mind for them who cling to pleasure and power, and whose discrimination is stolen away. The Vedas enumerate the three gunas. You transcend the three gunas, O Arjuna. Be free from the pairs of opposites, ever balanced, unconcerned with getting and keeping, and centered in the self. Just indulging in the Vedas, indulging in the knowledge of the Vedas, and then practicing the words of the Vedas for the attainment of something is truly where one falls. To an enlightened Brahmana, all the Vedas are as useful as a tank when there is flood everywhere. Seek to perform your duty, but lay no claim to its fruits. Be you not the producer of the fruits of karma, neither shall you lean towards inaction. Beautiful. Right there. Sri Krishna speaking directly to Arjuna. Do not lean towards inaction. Everyone has to take some action, even though you do not claim the fruits of that action. A difficult balancing there. Everyone is self motivated to try to attain something through their actions. But when one acts for the sake of acting, then true bliss is acquired. Perform action, O Dhananjaya. Again, the iteration on action. Being fixed in yoga, renouncing attachments, and even minded in the success and failure equilibrium is verily yoga. Motivated karma is, O Dhananjaya, far inferior to that performed in the equanimity of mind. Take refuge in the evenness of the mind. Wretched are the result seekers. The one fixed in equanimity of mind frees oneself in this life from vice and virtue alike. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. Work done to perfection is verily yoga. Amazing, beautiful. A whole set of lines dedicated to why you should commit yourself to action, not inaction. Don't disappear into the mountains. You haven't put in the work yet. Yoga, the union, directly meaning union, the union of all things, comes through the work that is done for the sake of work. Always commit yourself to action. Commit yourself to that which needs to be done. Truly, one does not hide themselves in a room in the darkness of night doing their mantra japa and they just do that and they just pray all day. No. I hope that people take Sri Krishna's words for real and that dharma is met with risk taking, that dharma is met with the interaction and the righteousness to uplift all people. Sri Krishna says, Shloka 51, chapter 2, the wise imbued with evenness of mind, renouncing the fruits of their actions, freed from the fetters of birth, verily go to the stainless state. Arjuna said, what is the mark of the man of steadfast wisdom steeped in samadhi? How does the man firm in wisdom speak? How does he sit? And how does he walk? That which has attained spiritual heights. Sri Krishna is going to describe this person. The blessed Sri Krishna said, when a man abandons, O Partha, all the desires of the heart and is satisfied in the self by the self, then he is said to be one stable in wisdom. He whose mind is not perturbed by adversity, who does not crave for happiness, who is free from fondness, fear, and anger, is the Muni of constant wisdom. He who is unattached everywhere, who is not delighted at receiving good, nor dejected by coming by evil, is poised in wisdom. See, Sri Krishna is talking about pure yoga. What does it feel like? And what is it? The experience and the wisdom from that who stands in the middle of all creation. The cessation of any vector. This is what Sri Krishna is talking about. When also, like a tortoise, its limbs, he can withdraw the senses from the sense objects, his wisdom is then set firm. Sense objects drop out for the abstinent man, though not the longing for them. His longing also ceases when he intuits the supreme. Here, Sri Krishna is talking about drawing in the senses into the self. The external world exists, but when one understands the self by the self, as Sri Krishna has explained, one knows the truth. One understands that something deeply independent from this external reality exists, and that independence is where real joy and real bliss comes from. Chapter 2, Shloka 60, Sri Krishna says, the excited senses, O son of Kunti, impetuously carry away the mind of even a wise man striving for perfection. The yogi, having controlled them all, sits focused on me as the supreme goal. His wisdom is constant, whose ceases are under subjugation. The yogi, having controlled them all, sits focused on me as a supreme goal. His wisdom is constant, whose senses are under subjugation. Brooding on the objects of senses, man develops attachment to them. From attachment comes desire. From desire, anger sprouts forth. From anger proceeds delusion. From delusion, confused memory. From confused memory, the ruin of reason. Due to the ruin of reason, he perishes. Beautiful understanding. That sequence is so beautiful. How Sri Krishna lays it out. It is absolutely genius what he's talking about here. He is explaining the ruination of man by perfectly describing how man is brought up. How is identity formed? Identity can only happen through memory, through experiences from the past. That's all you ever are. And if those experiences are tainted by delusion, then therefore you yourself and your understanding of yourself as a person in the world are tainted as well. This delusion, this ability to be tainted, can only come from being attached to something that can be lost. And the outside world is ever fleeting, ever going. And when something gets lost, the emotional tension happens. And when that emotional tension happens, that's where that delusion comes from. Ch.2, Shloka 64. But the disciplined yogi, moving among objects with the senses under control and free from attraction and aversion, gains tranquility. In tranquility, all his sorrow is destroyed, for the intellect of the tranquil-minded is soon anchored in equilibrium. Again, going back to yoga, going back to what it means to be a centered being. There is no wisdom in the fickle-minded, nor is there meditation in him. To the unmeditative, there is no peace. And how can the peaceless enjoy happiness? Oh, beautiful line. I love that line. How can the peaceless enjoy happiness? How can one that cannot meditate upon something great attain happiness? The ability of meditation is so important to individuals. And meditation in the sense of focus, so focusing on the supreme, as he said earlier. Just as a gale pushes away a ship on the waters, the mind that yields to the roving senses carries away his discrimination. Therefore, Almighty armed, his cognition is well poised, whose senses are completely restrained from their objects. That which is night to all beings, in that the disciplined man wakes, that in which all beings wake, is night to the Atma cognizing sage. A beautiful line, mainly because there is hidden meaning behind this line. Does Sri Krishna literally talk about night and day? Well, you can make the argument that at night or in very early waking hours before the sunrise, the world is very quiet. The world is not so much of an agitation during meditative hours. And that those times are very perfect for that center, that focus, that internal work that needs to be done, these very quiet hours. But night also refers to what? The closing of the eyes, the eternal darkness that happens that can make you see that which is inside of you. That's what he talks about when he says to wake up. The Atma cognizing sage is awakened at night when he has closed his eyes and he's awakened to search inside of him to know his Atma, to know his true self. Beautiful there. Night not as literal, but night as also the physical closing of the eyes. Not the desirer of desires, but that man attains peace, in which all desires merge, even as rivers flow into the ocean, which is full and unmoving. Again, equating the ocean to the equanimity of all things, the yoga of creation is there. The river moves. All paths lead to the ocean. That man attains peace, who lives devoid of longing, freed from all desires, and without the feeling of I and mine. This, O Partha, is the Brahman state. Attaining this, none is bewildered. being established in it, even at the death hour, a man gets into oneness with Brahman. Oh, and that is chapter 2. That is the best chapter in the book, in my opinion. Why is this chapter so good? He has laid out the entire Gita just now. Everything else is an expansion of chapter 2. Arjuna will start with chapter 3 with a question, being like, huh? What do you mean by all that? And that's why everything is so much longer. But such a beautiful laying out of what is true, of what yoga is, of what it means to be in equanimity, to this goal that we always talk about enlightenment, about attaining the highest state. How to do it is it's here. And what does that look like? What does that mean? What does it require? Sri Krishna has laid it out very bluntly. Beautiful how one can describe yoga in a way that no one else can, and only Sri Krishna can. Only Sri Krishna could describe yoga in such beautiful words. And my favorite lines, I mean, they're in this chapter. They're in this chapter, and they impact in such a way. It's such a clean. It's like cinematic almost. It's almost cinematic. These lines of grandeur. Man, do not focus on the Vedas. Focus on the self. Be independent from all the gunas. Be free from all dualities, and focus on the self, by the self. Oh, beautiful. You could almost see both of them on the top of the hill, ready to talking about the Gita right here, having this conversation, and the sun is rising, and that when that sun rises and it hits Arjuna's face, it's almost like that cinematic moment. Oh, beautiful chapter. Chapter 2 is amazing. We'll get into chapter 3 soon. And yeah, this has been a beautiful chapter. It's been a beautiful time. This is the Hindu Conceptualist signing out.